Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Uti Elu and I'm joined on set today by the lovely NJ and Mary, who we haven't been on set together in what feels like forever. I mean, we're just still settling into the comeback. So it feels like we're starting all over again from day one. But lovely to see you, ladies. Happy International Women's Day.
Oh,
we rock, we rule, you know. So how's today been?
Oh, for me, it's been full of activities.
Yeah.
Had to go to Oracle, had, different partners. You have to go and visit them. They're having events. Then we had our own internal, small talk and all that. Then, so it's been a busy day with full of activities.
Today has been a full-on activity. I was saying how I'd been on my feet since, so our event started at 1 p.m. And I think I maybe sat down for the first 20 minutes, and then after that I was on my feet till 5 o'clock or about 5:30. So it's been a very fun day, but it's also like when I sleep tonight, my goodness, my bed gonna be like what?
I know the feeling.
So looking forward to it. But yeah, Mary, how's your day been?
I mean, it was pretty much very calm. I can see you guys had a lot of International Women's Day activity. I can't say that. They only asked me for a picture of my office, and then they did like an email trail of a few people doing the sign. But that was about it. Just a lot of people talking about women inclusion online and stuff, We trying to, push jewelry out as well to women.
Is this a gifting day?
Yes.
Can somebody gift me some jewelry?
Celebrate yourself, celebrate the women in your life,
Wow.
So, yeah.
I need to get that memo earlier next year. So that,
Me too.
As soon as we get to March 1st, I can start posting. It's like 7 days away, 7-day countdown. Post a few gift ideas.
Yeah, that's a nice
How many
idea.
times are we going to get gifts this year?
Yes,
Someone was complaining that there are like 7 or 9 female, celebrating women. I'm like, but you're in this world because of a woman.
Exactly.
If you have to celebrate a woman every day, then do that.
Thank you. So, even if we're going to say there's 7 to 9 official days, please, you should gift a woman more than that.
Yeah.
Thank
all
you.
the time.
Yeah.
And yes, we are women, so we're biased. But yes, gifts work every single time.
Every time.
But yeah, I mean, I think being on set is a fantastic day to cap off the week.
Yeah.
And cap off today, where we get to talk about, still along the theme of today, International Women's Day, and get to talk about empowering women, sustainability. So I'm looking forward to that conversation when we bring in our guest. But here's what we found as today's quote. No country can ever truly flourish if it stifles the potential of its women and deprives itself of the contribution of half its citizens, and that's by the former First Lady of the United States, Michelle Obama. So, I mean, this quote is, I don't think there's anything truer than that. So you talked about the woman being the source of life, the woman birthing the child, but then the woman is also the driver of the economy. So for those who are faith-based, you think about the Proverbs 31 woman and all the things that are espoused there in terms of business, home, and all. But the truth of it is, the economy is built on the back of a woman. We're having some conversations today about how a woman marries a man, right? The cultural issues around whether, for example, women can inherit land, whether they can inherit assets, and the fact that in some parts of this here Nigeria, women still need their husband's permission to open a bank account. I mean, I heard that and I thought to myself, really? Are we that far off? But the reality of it is that man being, let's even say that in utopia, he's the sole provider. The day his resources don't carry the entire needs, he's going to look to that woman. And then the next thing, she has to go and do some trade. She has to find something to do, basically, to ensure that her family is taken care of, and everything that they need, or as much as she can add to her household, is provided. So when you think about it in that very simple context, it just shows that and that's not even talking about the women who are breadwinners. That's not talking about, so a lot falls on the shoulder of the woman, right? If you look at a lot of the small business SMEs, in some sectors, they're driven wholly by women. So really and truly, that quote just speaks to it. If you don't empower the women, right, if you don't offer them sustainable development, then you're going to have a big black hole. So what happens when the man can't provide, or whatever the circumstances, then it just, goes awry. Your thoughts on the quote, very quickly?
Well, just like you, I think you've said a whole lot in that one. So you've explained it, you've torn it into different shreds. And I think it's very, like we said, it's very, very important for us to recognize the importance of women in our lives and in today's world. I was listening to something on the radio, and they were talking about, everything today is centered around the International Women's Day. And they were bringing up some, they made a statement that there are two people who have surpassed, who have the highest IQ. The two people who have the highest IQ in the world are actually both women. So there are a lot of things centered around women. There's a lot of value. Women, they say women can see more colors than men. Yeah. Women are more perceptive. Yeah? Intuitive. So
there's a lot to say.
There's a lot to it.
Yeah, around the value women present. But let's jump right into it. So. Women inclusion in sustainable development is not merely a matter of social justice. It's an economic and environmental imperative. Empowering women and ensuring their full participation in decision-making processes across all sectors are essential steps towards building resilience, equitable and prosperous societies. Today we want to discuss the topic, Women Inclusion for Sustainable Development, with Abiodun Owo. And when we open our phone lines, we'd love to hear what you also have to say. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. Please stay with us. You're still watching Ways. International Women's Day is a global day celebrating the social, economic, and cultural and political achievements of women. March 8th is a day that calls for action for accelerating women's equality. With its first gathering in 1911, International Women's Day is widely supported by over 1 million people and belongs to all groups collectively everywhere. And that's absolutely true. I mean, I've heard all sorts on the radio today about International Women's Day. In fact, I think someone was saying 1909. But yeah, it's been around for a while. The fight for equality for women is not a new fight. The suffragette movement, women just seeking rights, the right to work, right? It's
Right to pay, more pay.
yeah, equal pay. Just, I mean, even before we
hours.
even got to the point of equal pay is a today problem. But you know, in that day, just the right to, you know, to pay, to be, to what's it called, to work, the right to vote. You know, all of those things that we take for granted now. So we've come a really long way. But let's jump into what we found in the news. I'll start with you, NJ.
Okay, so my news story tonight is a depraved mother and son are charged with sexually abusing children as young as 5 and live streaming it for money. So a mother who calls herself a specialist in erectile dysfunction, her son and her boyfriend are behind bars accused of several shocking child sex abuse charges. In November 2023, police were called to a home in Ocala, Florida, after two minor boys were reported to have been abused while they were away from their family home over Thanksgiving. So one of the boys said that the pair will pull them out of bed separately to perform sex acts that include digital and object anal penetration. And this would happen in front of a laptop. I think I would just stop there and just let's take a let's take a it just tells you where people's mind is right now, and it's scary that a mother, you know, being International Women's Day, a mother who is supposed to be a protector is going this extreme with other people's children along with her own very own son. So that tells you that as much as we're trying to, you know, point people in the right direction, there's some people who have made the obvious, you know, choice to just go in the other direction, because this is really depraved for someone to do this to someone else's child, and even alongside her own you know, child, instead of teaching or directing the child in the right way. It's quite unfortunate that we still
is, the ideal woman.
It's quite surprising.
Sad. Yeah. Mary, what did you find for us?
Nigeria's problems. Once again, Lagos airport power outage due to electrical spark. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria on Friday said that the power outage recorded at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos on Thursday resulted from a minor wire spark. This was disclosed in a statement by the Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Obiageli Ora. I mean, it's like quite a shame.
Nigeria's problems, whether it be the problem of power, whether it be the problem of maintenance, whether it be the problem of quality.
There's always one thing.
Yeah, there's problem.
It's sad.
But so this didn't turn into a full-blown blaze or anything?
No, it didn't. No,
okay.
So
thank God for that.
Well, small mercies.
Yeah. Because
I can imagine coming back from the airport and then, you know, trying to sort out immigration, and then maybe there's no lights for like 1 hour, or you're trying to get your bags. You're just like, oh yeah, back to this
in Nigeria.
Country.
Yeah, it just lets you know that you're
welcome back.
The plane hasn't mistakenly taken you to the wrong country.
No. There's one thing that would always let you know you're in Nigeria. Once you get into Nigeria airport, the escalator is not working. Yeah, back.
Is it the heat? For me, it's the smell.
The
minute you step off the plane into
and you walk into the airport.
It's the smell. It's literally the smell and then the humidity before the heat.
Before you even see the escalator that never works.
As well. Well, I think we can take a quick break, and then when we come back, we'll jump into today's topic.
In order for somebody to actually cyberbully, I mean, you must have a problem within you. You can clearly tell when someone is intending to hurt you and hurt your feelings from when someone is just trying to state their opinion on something. Like, it's a thin line, but like, you could definitely tell between the both. bullies are always going to be bullies, and you just can't let that sort of thing.
We need to create more awareness of what cyberbullying is, like shows like these, platforms like these. We come to educate what cyberbullying is and the perils that comes with it. 57% of Nigerian youths have no idea of what cyberbullying is. A person who is cyberbullied suffers 37% social anxiety, 36% depression, 24% suicidal thought, 23% self-harm, 12% developing antisocial behavior, 10% developing eating disorder, and 10% running from home. So calculate that. Imagine the number of negativity you're installing on one person. Our close friends are biggest targets of cyberbullying. So as we always review in 48 Laws of Power, conceal your intention. It's not everything you spill out. You don't say everything out. Even if the person is sleeping with you on the same bed, you don't spill everything out. Don't trust the next person beside you.
So staying with us, one of the fundamental aspects of women's inclusion in sustainable development is economic empowerment. Studies have consistently shown that when women are economically empowered, entire communities benefit. Women tend to invest in a higher proportion of their income in their families, education, and well-being, leading to improved outcomes for future generations. By providing women with access to financial resources, education, and training, societies can unlock their potential as drivers of economic growth and development. So today we're asking, how can we incorporate women to foster social sustainable development? Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. So, International Women's Day, the theme, count on her.
Inclusion.
What's it called now? Inclusion, right? It really, I think that every year as the themes evolve, we see a different perspective to this journey that we're on. So I think for me, I think it was 2 years ago was bias. And then I'm trying to remember what last year's own was now. But the idea is that every year you think we're going to run out of things to focus on and themes, right? But we never do, because there's always something to sort of think about. So now when we're talking about inclusion for women, I remember when I saw it, I got asked at work to sort of give a quote on the theme. And when I heard inclusion, I thought, okay, I get the concept of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. Okay, yeah, so there was equity. Yeah, that was the one last year. And then now inclusion. So the idea that we've now moved to the thought of how we create inclusivity and inclusive opportunities for women really kind of shows the fact that we are making progress. That's the way I choose to see it anyway, where now we're talking about how we can provide more opportunities, how, when we're saying count her in, how are we opening the door? And what I like to say is, I know a lot of people have negative sentiments around women helping women, but how are we doing everything we possibly can to give women as much visibility, as much exposure, as much, giving them that opportunity to be included, to take a seat at the table, and actually be heard. So for me, I'm very excited about today's topic. Can't wait to get our guest here. So let me just hear from you, maybe 1 minute quickly, your thoughts around inclusivity for women. Have you had any personal experiences of, having those opportunities that someone has gone out of their way to include you, just to set the scene for the conversation today?
For me, I think my boss has really paved the way for me. I mean, I've basically only ever worked there, and I can tell you that we have more females in the company than men, and it's always her father being the MD. I know she definitely fought a lot of battles, because it's like, is he going to hand down the company to her, being a woman, So when she's talking to us, she tells me things like, Mary, you have to fight. Like, you don't understand. Like, they're not creating this table for you, but you have to literally you have to take it. You have to put yourself on the table. Yeah. You know, and sometimes I'm like, you know, try to understand, you know, what she's saying and stuff, you know, because you're just on the side and she's like, girl, you have to work twice as hard, you know, and I can see her, even when she, you know, wants to ask for certain things, the fashion brand, she built the fashion brand. And my MD is a bit like traditional and all of that, and it took a lot, you know, for her to convince her dad. And even now that he now understands, you can see the pride, you know, when he hear, you know, my daughter, you know, everything, my daughter, you know, you can see that he now has that confidence. And so that has also, you know, made a way for us to say we have female managers in the company. You know, you were more empowered to, you know, speak up, even when we go for like presentations, and you know, she speaks to us. She tells us like, look, there's nothing that the men are doing that you can't do. You know, in fact, you even have more advantage. So
use it.
Use it. Basically.
I love it.
So yeah, you know, I really do appreciate her for that.
That's a really good point to which we should, I think, bring in our guest. So Abiodun, in fact, I think we're going to take a break now. Yeah, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, Abiodun will join us. Please stay with us.
Making use of social media to commit fraud, to commit crimes. The one I have the major problem with is not even the crime and the fraud. I mean, those things happen, right? Even without social media, it happens. But you see cyberbullying. Oh, God. Do you understand the detriment that thing can cause to somebody? Do you understand how bad? And the painful part of it is, a lot of times, they don't just mean this thing. They don't say it off one time and it's off their head. But you don't understand the gravity of pain and emotion you're causing the person you just bullied. He's going to deal with it for life. I'm waiting and looking at the day where we can use social media to make Nigeria. I'm so interested in this Nigeria becoming, getting to that point of global standard where we would actually have $1 to a naira.
There are multiple benefits to social media, such as communication, connectivity, building a community, education, and much more. We also can't shy away from the fact that social media actually has unintended consequences on our mental health, such as low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, fear of missing out, body image issues, and much more. You can't really come on social media and then use another person's ruler to measure your success. I mean, then you're bound to feel like you're not even doing anything, or you're not making any progress. But like, if you really just look at social media for what it is and just know that, okay, like, yeah, social media has like a certain side effects or certain effects, but you have to be much more aware than that. And you have to know that there's certain things that you can believe and you can't believe on social media. And you just have to use it to honestly build yourself and build your future.
With us, Abiodun Owo is the Senior Programs Executive at Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, where she coordinates the development and implementation of the organization's programs activities. She's a public health professional with over 15 years of experience designing, implementing, and monitoring social and behavior change interventions. Over the years, she has engaged a variety of audiences, adolescents, youth, health professionals, media practitioners, and community leaders, influencing favorable behavior, change in reproductive, maternal, child, adolescent health, communicable diseases, leadership, development, amongst others. Abiodun's personal goal is to make meaningful impact on the lives of people in her sphere of influence through capacity building and strengthening. So, Abiodun Owo, which means money, joins us today. Love that. Thank you for joining us. I mean, you're the best person to be sitting at this table today, really. We're talking women. We're talking women, we're talking inclusion, we're talking sustainable development. So let's start off with your take on where women are today in terms of empowerment.
Okay, so in terms of empowerment, I would say women are in a better place than it used to be, but of course it can always get better. It can always get better. What it was 100, 200 years ago is not what it is now. You know, imagine as simple as a marathon. It wasn't even viewed as something a woman should participate in. And then it took just one woman, you know, to make that attempt. And she insisted, I'm going to participate. And then she sort of, you know, made a leeway for other women to, you know, participate in the marathon. And a couple of other things that have happened, you know, in terms of access to education, economic empowerment, and things like that. So I think that it's a lot better than it used to be, but of course, it's still work in progress.
So, ladies, who wants to go first?
Well, let me say that when it comes to women's participation in, you know, or inclusion in sustainable development, there has been a lot of challenges over the years. And like you rightfully said, we've been fighting those challenges, and now we've gotten to the point where a few things are, women are included in a few things, and there's still a lot of things. Let me put it that way, because it's a continuous battle. So, or a continuous challenge, let me put it that way, not like a battle, because what we want to do is create awareness and to be seen and to be heard, and to be accepted for who we are, and to be given the opportunity to show what we are made of, or what we are, how we benefit the society in different industries and ways. Because obviously women bring a lot to the table, and there's always that constant question of what do you bring to the table. So as a woman, how do we constantly, you know, keep our mind on these major topics in terms of women inclusion? Because there are so many areas that women are still not included. So in those areas, how long, at the pace at which we're going, how long do you think it will take? How well, I think that's what I would want to ask. How well do you think that we are doing, or women are faring all around the world in this advocacy for women inclusion?
So I'd say again, we're making progress. Before now, you would have jobs where men who took, you know, same positions as women are paid more than women. And then you found advocates for such, you know, things that, you know, this is not right. Even in sports, for example, why would the man be paid more than a woman for the same thing, for doing the same job, for delivering the same results? So I think that, like I said, it's still work in progress. I wouldn't say it would take maybe another 2, 3, 4, 5 decades. I think that depending on the kind of actions that we also elicit from our awareness programs, majorly I think what women need to do is also arm themselves with information, get education, and I'm not just talking formal education, even if it is informal, get education. So why are these things happening? What are the things that have happened in the past that have changed? How did it change? Olufumilaya Ransome Kuti, for example, she fought for things that we now enjoy.
So that means we also need to continue to take the baton from where the likes of our Chimamandas, you know, where Dora Queenly they have proven a point that, look, if you give a woman opportunity, she will do great stuff. So you sitting here, you know, 4 of us, if we influence, like, you know, 5 other people, they influence 5 other people. The pace at which we do this, yes, will determine how much result and how fast we get the results that we want.
I think that's a great point to start on. On ways on Fridays, we tend to talk about businesses, and I know that one of the areas that you focus on is leadership, and we talk about from an empowerment perspective and the impact on the economy of a nation. A lot of women today are entrepreneurs. What are you seeing in the work that you're doing, right, that speaks to how women have evolved as leaders, as entrepreneurs? How is that progress that we're talking about, how is it manifesting, and what are the next opportunities? Where is the growth? What are the growth possibilities for women in that space?
Okay, I'll pick on entrepreneurship, for example. So at Aspire Coronation Trust Foundation, we usually would, I wouldn't say prefer, but, you know, give more opportunity to women because we're already at a disadvantage. So when we have nonprofits who want to do things that, you know, impact the lives of individuals, we want to favor more women to come on board because if you empower a woman, you're most likely empowering a whole household, and then it impacts, yes, on the community and then the society at large. So what we're seeing is there are a lot more women more females who are taking up things where you usually find men in such spaces. So we have, for example, one of our partners work in solar installation, for example, you know, empowering young people to have that as their business and even employ other people. So we make deliberate effort at having more women on board because you'll find more men interested in such things. Yeah. And then in STEM, for example, in tech things, we request that they involve more young women, you know, more women in such things, and then you're seeing more women who are starting businesses, more women who are becoming more tech savvy, and they're starting businesses that are employing both women and men, you know, and then they're doing great stuff from there.
I mean, it's just like you said, it's amazing how women, given the opportunities, always rise to the challenge. We were talking about the growth that we've had in my organization, going from maybe 1 or 2 women in our technology and IT department, and now we're at 20%. So, I mean, for me, that was one of the statistics that stood out today when we were discussing this, that women just, I mean, we can do everything. We go in, we're like salt or we're like sugar. We just go in and we make everything better.
Yeah.
But Mary, I'll come to you.
Okay, so I'll come from the point of what other policies can we put in place, you know, to take it a step higher. And also in our country, Nigeria, in the northern part, there's still a lot of work to do in terms of, like, you know, the girl child, the early marriage, and all of that. So how can we reach that area, and then globally, what kind of policies and strategies do you think that we should put in place for gender inclusivity?
So I'd say that for Nigeria, our problem is not coming up with policies. The policies are all there, you know, rights of the girl child, discrimination against, you know, violence and discrimination, policies, acts, laws, we have all of them. It's getting the buy-in of those in leadership, you know, getting the political will to actually support. So there again, it comes to leadership. So when more women are involved in leadership, for example, it is easier for them to kick against child marriage, you know, to kick against, you know, having girls not go to school, because the woman sees what she has benefited from education, and then sees that these young girls, they could be the same. that could be, you know, another me. So we have policies. What we need is the political will to actually implement. There are federal laws that have been ratified just by a few states, and then you see results from there. Lagos State is doing pretty well. Lagos State is doing very well, you know, in terms of implementing things around education, around discrimination, around sexual violence, for example. I think what we need is not more policies. What we need actually is the implementation of the existing policies that we have in Nigeria, because we do have them.
So how can we do that better?
Yeah, so I guess lobbying, advocacy, do a lot more advocacy. So if we have more organizations who will continue to speak out, who will continue to lend their voices to the fact that girl-child education is not something to be played with. The girl is just as important as the boy. Yeah. So continuous advocacy. We just need to ensure that we get the support from those in leadership as much as we need.
I think that's a great point to take a break. And we'll be right back to pick up the conversation. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. If you are just tuning in, we're discussing the topic, Women Inclusion for Sustainable Development. Please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 0818-038-4663. And our phone line is also now open, so you can call us. The number to call us on is 0702-500-7749. When you do call in, please remember to turn down the volume of your TV set so that we can hear you and have a good conversation. So you just stopped on talking about policies and the fact that we don't have a gap in policies. We have more of a gap in implementation and maybe monitoring. I know that one of the areas, so let me piggyback on this. They say health is wealth, right? And we know that if we take Nigeria as a whole, we have healthcare issues. But when we bring that down to the female gender, it's even a bigger problem, because we have, you sort of talked about sort of gender-based violence, we talked, FGM. There's so many things that are peculiar to the woman. And these things all require what should be a functioning health system that can support us. Then you talk about things like maternal mortality. I mean, the numbers are scary when you look at them. Can you give us a picture of what's happening in that healthcare space as it relates to women?
Okay, so like you've rightly said, maternal mortality is usually second to India. Yeah, we have over 1,000 women out of 100,000 dying, and simply because they got pregnant and they couldn't get the kind of health, care that they needed, or because they couldn't get the consent of a man, to allow a doctor, sit exactly. So these have a ripple effect on the health of women. And then you've talked about female genital mutilation, for example. It is not the man who's been caught, it's the woman, it's the young girl who's been caught. And why? Because of cultures that are, primitive, to say the least. You don't see boys, you don't see men being at the receiving end of this kind of things. A couple of other things like that just puts women at a disadvantage. And our healthcare system isn't one that has paid enough attention to women, even in terms of budget allocation. I remember as far back as 2015, our country agreed to, to have, to apportion 15% of our national budget to health. And up until 2024, I'm not even sure we have up to 9% of that nationally. And you wonder, this is 9 years after, so when are we going to get this 15% of the national budget allocated to health? And that is why you have the healthcare system in such a deplorable state. And women are usually at the receiving end because a woman who is pregnant, who can't get the antenatal care that she needs, falls back to a quack. She falls back to a traditional birth attendant who knows nothing, about helping a woman give birth. And they're just at the mercy of these people just because they are women. I can't deliver myself, when I'm pregnant. If it was possible, then we probably wouldn't need, the healthcare system. But then the health of the woman is solely dependent on a thriving healthcare system. We're not there yet. We are
So
not
we're paying the price.
anywhere there yet in Nigeria.
But I think that the conversation so far, I think we've set a good foundation around the challenges that women are facing today, with the cultural context of Nigeria, the geographical context as well. Let's take a positive spin to the conversation. So I know a lot of the work that you're doing is in that space. How are the opportunities being created today for women? How are women benefiting from these and thriving? So a woman who's watching today, who maybe runs a small business or maybe needs to acquire a skill, what are those opportunities today that we can sit here and discuss around that word inclusion? How are we bringing women to the table on the positive side?
Okay, so of course, inclusion now would be, irrespective of what your ability is, what your background is, you have opportunity, to be listened to be valued, to be integrated, into the system. So women who need support with, for example, maybe entrepreneurial skills, they can access it from non-profits, for example, that we partner with. We work with non-profits who do things in health, for example, who do things in entrepreneurship, and they usually would serve their catchment area. They usually would serve their communities. So women who are based in these communities, of course, have them to access. And our partners do not hesitate to ensure that the awareness is created either via traditional media, social media, door-to-door information, and education and communication and things like that. So they just need to put themselves out there to find out, put their ears to the ground, find out where these services are available and take advantage of it, because usually they are not charged a fee for benefiting from such programs, from eye care services to maternal health services, having delivery kits, of their own just to get them set for that day, entrepreneurship skills, and a couple of other things, including STEM education as well, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, I'll piggy off that contribution that you just made. So we've spoken about, this and how it affects the woman in terms of health and some other personal areas. So my question is, what are those social and economic costs? How detrimental is it for us not to include women? How detrimental has that been to our our economy, and even to us as a whole, as a country, not having that level of inclusion that we should have in order to attain, that sustainable development? What has that cost us as a country? Because it's important for us to look at that. That helps us to, weigh, the kind of what we should be looking at and the kind of problem that we have on our hands.
Okay, so I may not be able to put statistics to this, but I know that when you do empower a woman, you have done that for an entire household, and there's that ripple effect on the community. So when you do not do that, that means you have a woman who is solely dependent on her husband, and then when the husband is economically deprived, if he's affected by a job loss, for example, that means, the entire family, we have an average of 4 to 5 children per household these days. So that means that household is in trouble. So if the woman is empowered, if the woman is able to make is able to make economic profit for herself, if she gets education that gives her more economic opportunities, for example, she saves her entire household and even an extended family. But when she doesn't, then we're losing out on a lot. And I'm not even sure that we can measure that at the moment, but I can say that it actually is detrimental.
I think we have a SDG goal for gender equality. An SDG for gender equality, and if I remember correctly, that's a 2030 deadline. So, with about 7 years to go, 6 years, the clock is ticking. If you were to measure where we are today against that goal, do you think that goal is achievable, to achieve gender equality by 2030? If not, which I think so, but let me let you answer the question. If not, what would be your estimation based on what you're seeing so far in your space? Do you think, let me not even go for the world, let me come to Nigeria. Yeah. Do you think that that goal could be achieved?
Unfortunately, I do not think so. I'm trying to be as positive as I can, but I do not think so. Yes, I do not think that we're anywhere near it. I could say maybe like a 30-35% that were, a lot of efforts are being put in place, but then something goes wrong, and then you see that we take like 10 steps backwards again. So it's the sad reality that we have to face. 2015 MDGs, it came and it went, and then we came up with SDGs for 2030. The sad reality is that we're not anywhere there yet. Perhaps if we could multiply our efforts by, say, 7, 8, 9, 10, maybe it would be close to 70%. It's just the sad reality. I don't think that we're there yet. Not to say that we're not making efforts. A lot of efforts are being made. However, we still have cultures, traditions that just take us, that take us like 10 steps backwards again, even with all of the efforts that people are making.
You mentioned cultural, mindset, but there are other, I would like for you to shed some light on other barriers that, that hinder women's inclusion, because it's also very important for us to know these things so that when you're filling up the gap.
I think before we let you finish your question, I believe we have a call.
Oh, okay.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening, ladies.
Good evening.
Thank you for calling.
Thank you
What's
so
your
much.
name
You
and
guys
where
are
you're calling
looking really
from?
beautiful.
Thank you so much. What's your name and where
I'd
you're
rather
calling from?
choose to remain anonymous.
Okay. All right. Please go ahead.
All right. So a quick question for the guest, based on what you just asked, Uti. I hear a lot of times men always grumble about women holidays. We have too many of holidays. We're already celebrating holidays. If you check global funding, there's a lot of funds directed towards women, right? Do you think that in itself might be the problem that is making this growth, hitting a barrier, maybe not having more male allies to push this vision so we can have this inclusion? Do you think that in itself might be the problem? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anonymous. So I think that it goes both ways. There are people who feel that women are getting so much attention that now are now becoming the endangered species. I also think that so equality does not always mean that you should give a woman preference when she doesn't qualify, for example. So equality means this woman is just as qualified as this man. Why isn't she getting the opportunity that the man is getting? Equality isn't saying this woman, she is just as human as this man and should get the opportunity that the man gets, even when she doesn't have half of the skills, of the knowledge or information that the man has. That's not what equality is about. And I also think that we need to be more deliberate about male involvement, even when we're talking about inclusion. Because at the end of the day, you give the woman the opportunity. If she has a home, she goes back to the man. And then if she's not the type who knows her place in the home, for example, there's going to be a battle, there's going to be a tussle. Gender equality is not about fighting, trying to be shoulder to shoulder with the man. No, that is not what it is. But I also think that there may be some quarters where they think that all of this attention is so unnecessary. Why should the woman get so much more attention than the man? So different strokes, I think, lies for different folks. They happen at different degrees.
Well, we're fast running out of time. We have a comment here from Joseph Essien, and I think he's asking about what campaigns are in place for women inclusivity in the rural areas where FGM occurs, the exclusion of female children in education because of cultural beliefs that she'll only benefit from her husband. You know, she'll get married and she can get her sustenance from there. So I guess he's just trying to look at, you know, what is in place, maybe what programs, what campaigns may be running today.
Yeah, I know about both national and international organizations that actually, you know, campaign against, you know, child brides, that campaign against female genital mutilation and things like that. And what they do is try to let people know that it is not wrong for the female child to have actually come as a female child. It's not her fault. Some of the things, and it always comes back to cultural, you know, cultural perspective again. Some of the things that fuel these practices are they are cultural beliefs, they are traditional beliefs. Female genital mutilation, for example, shouldn't even exist. Why would you cut a girl? Why would you have to, you know, close up her genital area just to prevent promiscuity? It takes two to tango. Hello. Why isn't the same thing done to the boy? You know, why does the girl have to be the one at the receiving end all the time? Yeah, so our traditions, our cultures, we actually need to question them, because these traditions, these cultural beliefs are created by humans. They are, just one man wakes up and thinks this is not right, and then nobody questions it, and that's why we're here today. And those things need to actually change. So the campaigns that are going on are saying no to female genital mutilation, no to child brides, because they do not deserve it. They deserve a much better future.
Absolutely. And I think that's a very powerful note for us to end the show on. But like you said earlier, we need to continue to advocate for the female gender. So this conversation, we will continue it. Ways is a team of women discussing the things that really matter. So you will indulge us and you will come back and let's have this conversation again. We keep reiterating the message, but thank you so much for joining us today. The time always flies so quickly. Before you know it, we're done. So thank you very much to NJ. Thank you very much to Mary for joining me on set today. And once again, happy International Women's Day to all the amazing women out there. Before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram at Way Show Africa and official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all our social media engagements. And remember to invite your friends and family to watch us and follow us. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. No country can ever truly flourish if it stifles the potential of its women and deprives itself of the contribution of half its citizens. And that's by Michelle Obama. So we look forward to seeing you again on Monday at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Have a good weekend.